Okay, I'm going to start over again. This is take two, a bit like my whole weekend. So, good afternoon. It's Barbara, the East Coast Dragon Lady, coming to you from the East Coast of the United States. If you're new to my channel, um, thank you for joining. I've had more people joining my YouTube channel and more people joining my Facebook group. So, thank you very much. Um, as I've said before, this is about the information I get, sharing with all of you. So I chose this today because this heart, I know it's not February yet, but I felt like all I'm hearing that people's hearts are opening is something that, um, as we're coming to the end of the year of the snake, um, that our skins are finally shedding as we leap into that fire horse energy on, I think it's February the 14th, February 15th. Um, and I did just read that all signs will be experiencing a full moon at that time. So, there are going to be big, big shifts. But it really felt to me like everybody was talking about this heart opening, our throats opening, and our third eye. So I often talk about the connection, but this is really happening. Um, and here in Massachusetts, it's a long weekend. It's one of those holidays that not every state has. It's Martin Luther King Day on Monday. So I've just had a very odd weekend. Yesterday, I rested. Um, and I think I've mentioned before that I have arthritis as I'm getting older, but I have it in my lower back, and I also have spinal stenosis, and it's really been playing me up. And I have an extremely high pain tolerance, and I've sort of come to that point with it that I had some x-rays done and saw the spine doctor, and it's just a mess. My lower back is a real mess. So we've got to talk treatment plan. I really don't want to do surgery, but my back is not looking good, and it does affect me standing. So I've got to work my way around that. You probably know, if you followed me for the last few years, I like to go out on walks. And this past summer, apart from it was very hot here, I found, again, too much walking. So it's almost like if I do too much of anything, it will really play up. And it's bone on bone pain. So I've had that in my knees. I've had knee replacements. This is just like, I can't describe it. Unless you've had it, you can't really describe it. I used to say it was like having a constant toothache. I'm going to upgrade that because my anti-inflammatories are not working. I can't take certain meds. And that's been an interesting thing. As I've grown spiritually, my body is not accepting of a lot of medication and food. So I also started off this month, probably like a lot of you. I didn't want to start on a diet per se, but I decided I needed to rein in I got into some bad habits, letting a few things slide, because I'm dairy free and gluten free. And I'd been like, oh, well, maybe I can just have a little bit of this. That won't hurt me. And, it was building up. So I'm like clean eating. So I probably set myself a too higher bar. But I always say, the higher it is, you might meet eight. So that's what I used to say at work years ago. I expect 100%, but if you can get to 80, then we're getting there. So if we set the bar too low, then you're only going to get here. So reach for 100. So I wanted to do Whole 30, which I'd done years ago when I was eating some meat. They've now brought out a plant-based one. And I knew when I looked at it that there were some things there that my body doesn't tolerate. Soy is one of them, and there was a lot of tofu and tempura. And I thought, I'm going to try it again, because I always think maybe I don't have that intolerance, maybe not. But after about 10 days, I was like, no, I can't do it. My stomach was like, nope, thank you, can't do all those beans, which is sort of a substitute if you can't do the soy. and the tofu, they increase your bean intake. Yeah, I can't do too much of that either. So it's not doing, so I'm really focusing on the clean eating. Um, my reasons for being dairy free was I had a heart scare a few years back. I have a long history, family history, of family members dying way too young. And it looked like I had something going on. Thankfully, I didn't. I know spiritually it was, I was having a heart awakening, but it was very scary. I had all the signs of like a coronary blockage, along with difficulty breathing and all that good stuff. I had a cardiac catheterization, and my heart was like pretty good for my age, but I do have to watch my blood pressure and my cholesterol, which has always been low because I've been a non-meat eater for most of my life. So that's what I need to get back to. And the gluten-free was when I was trying to address my pain a few years ago. So after I had my last knee replacement, the amount of antibiotics they gave me, and I think all the other meds that you have during surgery, completely destroyed my GI tract. And it took me probably a good year to get back on track. And one of the ways, or one of the things, I'd always suspected that I was gluten intolerant, not to the point that it's going to kill me, but my body didn't agree with it, because one of the things I always crave is bread. Give me a good French loaf and a piece of cheese and some butter. Not anymore. So yes, I was off the charts. Gluten was, and gluten's in a lot of things. So my nutritionalist had already said, if you're not already, it's just stop doing the gluten stuff. And then I got tested. I had my blood tested. It seemed the easiest way. Then try this food. Don't, stop to eat. We did the blood test, and there was a lot of things that surprised me that I couldn't eat, which is of course always, like things like pineapple and avocado. I love those. So I just have to really watch but that I really believe goes along with our spiritual awakening. So my body has become more intolerant of the things that are not nourishing my body. That's all, because otherwise it just doesn't stay in my body. So I also, as I said, I wanted to sit here today to feature my curtains that I found. I was looking for something different, and I found these are, if I want to believe that they are what they say they are, which are remnants of saris from India. So they're beautiful colours, as you can see, and they're like a patchwork, and they're very very retro, but also reminds me of the 70s, right? So I love them. They allow some light in the mornings, but not enough that it's blinding. So that's, I don't even know why I got on the whole diet thing, but I did want to say that I've also been connecting with my I thought I had one gatekeeper dragon. So I have mainly guides I have galactics as guides, and my dragons. I've been sharing with you the past few weeks that I recently finally met, even though they've been with me all my life. Again, it was time for me to meet them and start working with them. And this goes along with the work that I'll be doing this year in Spirit Release, which is connecting to your personal guides that can then work with clients' guides to do this Spirit Release therapy. If you're interested in that, you can connect with me. I'm just in we're in practice sessions, and then I'm hoping to get my certification in that, and then step into the mediumship role. I got very brave on Friday. My dragons literally, and you've heard me talk about how my dragons are over my shoulder sometimes. I don't know what card that was. It just jumped out. Oh, here we go. Oh, healing clarity. So clearly we needed that. It just jumped out as I was shuffling. So my dragons, literally, as I was in Lost Soul Rescue, which they love because it's crossing over usually earthbounds and sometimes bigger places. They love to come in and grab up all the dark energy. They literally stood behind me and said, "You're ready, say yes." So I said yes. So I did help find a lost soul and help cross him over. It's actually it actually brought tears. I've seen other people do it, but knowing that somebody who had taken their own life or somebody who had died unexpectedly, whatever reason, they're all falling on the floor today. It was actually beautiful, knowing that you've helped that person go across the Rainbow Bridge, and they're often surprised that what we say to them. I mean, I felt that I needed to say something to him, and they're often surprised that even their loved ones want to know where they are. So, as any of you know, if people leave too early for whatever reason, it's the loved ones left behind that have all the questions. So I'm going to pull another one of these. All right. So that card that flew out was Healing Clarity. Amplify your emotions and bring your shadows to the surface to heal them. So that's what we need to do. So in these last 2 weeks of January, can you believe that? We're in the last 2 weeks of January. We're going to be shedding, or we're not taking it into the next new cycle. So expect a lot of clarity around healing. Get rid of that baggage. We don't want to take it with us. Addiction has come up, which is a need despite negative consequences. So it is a compulsion. It's a compulsive need despite negative consequences. So these are the Akashic Record messages for us. And then there's resisting change, which isn't unusual. See, there's a beautiful butterfly there. The butterfly is featured large as well this week because it's new beginnings. Uncertainty about future requires you to adapt to new ways of doing things. So that can be scary when we know that, especially with the fire horse, there's so much information about what's going on with the fire horse energy that I think it can be a little bit scary. And it will happen in perfect time. Remember that. It's like we can't rush this. I shared a couple of days ago on Facebook that it has taken me over 25 years to finally let go and forgive, because it was causing me a lot of physical pain. And it's the same with most people that have chronic pain and all those conditions, that it can even be a tiny little thread that we need to get rid of. And it wasn't until I truly could forgive my ex-husband and my mother, send them love, send them on their way, and breathe, because I'd been holding my breath for 25 years. It's very freeing, but it can take us our lifetime, because that's probably one of the lessons that one of the many lessons we gave ourselves when we came here, right? So what were we thinking? I had a laundry list, I'm sure. I think I'm getting to the end of it. I've also heard a lot of people connecting fire dragon energy to the fire horse, and I would say even the fire unicorn. So I'm going to pull from my deck to see what... Oh, look, I was talking about my grandfather the other day. Oh, so I've got masculine. It's interesting. Masculine energy. So the grandfather energy, this is when I did my own oracle deck. This was about the divine masculine. So the grandfather dragon is reminding us that he is our father's father. And he comes in with that softer male energy. And then there's the sun dragon. I'll post these as well. Who's the peacekeeper, and we often need that, but especially in the divine. This last week, having connected with both, have two gatekeepers. I've learned oftentimes you have one person that is your gatekeeper. I have these two beautiful dragons that are polar opposite. I have on this side of me a huge black dragon whose name's Seelie, is my gatekeeper dragon, and on this side there's this huge white feathered dragon, and her name is Peace. And I've been speaking with her as well, and she brings the balance. So I have divine masculine and the divine feminine, and they blend their energy each day. This is how they show me how it goes, and they incorporate that into me, so it keeps me balanced with divine feminine and divine masculine. She also has these beautiful feathers that sometimes I can feel. They're probably about this size. They're very long feathers. She's very elegant, along with my Pleiadian soul guides. My female Pleiadian, I again have male and female. It's interesting. So I have the balance in both of my, I have Pleiadian guides and I have Lyran guides, and I have this one beautiful Irma, who is another part of the Lyrans, this big white female lioness, who showed up a few weeks ago now with this hologram of a heart coming out of her forehead, out of her third eye. And it's just the energy that I have around me is sort of even brings tears to my eyes. So I realize that I'm on that path, and now that I'm on this is what I'm hearing, they're saying, now I'm on my true path. So earlier this year, I was told that I had finished all my tasks, but I'd set myself to be here, which didn't mean because I'd finished them all that it was time for me to leave. It's now time for me to enjoy. And yesterday I got a message from Peace about that as well. She talked about me now making memories to put in my memory bank, which when I was writing it, I was like, that's interesting, because I saw it, because these are galactics, I saw it as like this huge machine that's gathering our memories. And I may be spot on. Some of you may go, oh, that's exactly what happens. I because I've seen it and because I hear it, and she told me that as I make these in the next 10 years, she talked about a decade of now making memories that I can look back on. So as we make them, sort of like our brain's a computer and they're uploaded. So that's interesting, something to think about. And then this other dragon's card that I pulled is the Stargate dragon, be open. So the stargates are opening. I'm sorry about the darkness, but I just wanted to have this something different, right, than seeing all my other junk behind me. So that's interesting from the dragons. There's really the divine. And also I've heard last year they talked a lot about that the new masculine energy that's coming in, the new star seeds, are going to have a much softer, they're not going to be so edgy, they're saying. This is going to be a totally different. So those that have come in the last, again, they're saying the last decade. So in 2025, so the last 10 years, they're new star seeds. And the males are going to be much, much different. So talking about star seeds, these cards that I'm pulling are for the week. So be on the lookout for a lot of male energy. I think that goes to say for us in the United States. I am not making any more comments about that. But to my friends in Canada who have messaged me, or I've responded to some of your posts, thank you. Thank you for caring about those of us in the USA that hold your philosophy, and across the world as well. But the Canadians are scared. They're way too connected to the United States. They're above us. So these are starseed cards. Oh, so I'm waiting for my new glasses. So that's the. So I was in such a rush to get out and home before the snow. We had quite a bit of snow yesterday and the roads were horrible. And my new glasses were here because as I'm looking at this saying I can't read it. So I went to pick them up and they were closed. So you have to wait till next week to see my new glasses. Well, you might see them before. So this is called Soul Gifts and Training. It's time to step up. So we're being called to connect to our soul, bring in our gifts and our training to step up. This is the next 10 years, is what they're saying. Again, this is a Starseed deck. It's Rebecca Campbell. A lot of Rebecca Campbell's cards are very soft tones to them. I will take pictures and post them. So the next one is empathetic starseed, energetic sovereignty, absorbing what's not yours. So yes, there's a lot of talk about those of us who are empathetic and how we often take on a lot that is not ours. And that's practice, right? Because I am as guilty as everybody to say I'm not going to. In fact, I have on my computer a reminder to observe, do not absorb. But what do? We connect with our heart, because we immediately like, oh, that's sad. And then what happens is the people that are looking for that energy will grab onto it. So we do have to be really careful. And that's where the grounding comes in. I also learnt, I always say, I always learn something new most days, if not all days. And I have to say that it's to do with grounding. And I've always felt, and this sort of now makes sense to me, that when we ground ourselves and we're putting it down into Mother Gaia and we're connecting and we're anchored in, which is great. But what we should be doing as well is sending out roots from the top of our head out into the universe and to connect with the universal energy. And I started doing that this week. Wow. Especially if you are a channeler or a medium, it makes a whole lot of sense. Kat Irvin is one of Lara's senior mediums, and she was on her podcast, which I was listening to, and she talked about, she sees herself as a tree, so the limbs go up and down. I also like to see my chakras spinning and aligned, and then put roots out from them. And by doing that, sort of seeing everything going down, it's amazing how grounded and how clear, what it not is about grounding, but it's how it clears you, because that energy then comes up, and it's like another lymphatic system is what they're saying. So our lymphatic system drains away fluid and gets rid of it. This recirculates our energy, and not only do we give it back to Mother Gaia, but we also get her energy. But those of us that connect to the galactics or want to be more connected, if you start putting roots out, up and out, like you see them going down, they will go out into the ethers and you will pick up. I almost feel like it's static. You know, when you open a door, it feels staticky, is what I'm going to say. So I love how the cards remind me what I need to talk about. So let's see what the goddess card. So we've got the male energy here. So I really want to balance that out. Which, as I said, I find that my guides do that. You can ask your guides as well. You don't have to have a male and female. I just thought it was interesting that before I had a session with Adriana, I had I was more aware of my gatekeeper dragons than I was about my soul guides. But I was so happy that they were galactics and who they were. Well, they've always been with me, so I was just remembering. So Ericura, blossoming, you are getting started. So you are just getting started. So have patience with yourself and the process, and do not give up. So Ashley, if you're watching this, that's a question you had for me. That's your card. That is, do not give up. Just keep moving. Even if it's a baby step a day, just keep moving forward. Oh, this one wants to come out, which is Isis. Past life. The situation involves your past life memories. So yes, they do come up. They usually come up for the good, but sometimes if it's a trauma, it's coming up to be cleared. So don't see it. Sometimes when we're triggered, we don't see it as a gift. We see it but it's usually there to remind us. And it's probably something we haven't cleared. I got triggered the other day by a word, which I found interesting after I got over the trigger, which was, it was in an email, and it said, because I don't know if you've noticed that Gmail is using AI to summarize. If you have several emails, of summarizing. Oh, I know what it was. It said Barbara made a mistake. That triggered me. It was almost like I jumped out of my skin because I used to get blamed an awful lot and would tell me, and I would be told by various family members that I was not correct. I also had an ex-husband that was always telling me I didn't know what I was talking about. But guess I was. So this last one, I won't go on about that because it might trigger somebody else. So the other one is Yamana, is golden opportunities. Important doors are opening for you right now. Walk through them. So sometimes we think we're totally prepared. I was actually, if you saw my post, I was talking about, I actually said, I don't understand rude people, and I don't. I don't understand if you want something from me or you want some help from me, don't go down that road of, I think it was blaming. I think it was actually from a neighbor. And all I could do, instead of reacting, I just sent her love. I sent her love and said, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but you don't go about things right. I didn't say this to her, but it's sort of, she has a hair trigger and then just goes on a rampage. And I've not been on the other end of it per se. This was a simple thing. I had a plumber in this week. Talk about water flowing. I had a pipe in my bathroom upstairs just literally disconnected itself, and it needed, obviously, the plumber's touch. I couldn't get it back, and I wasn't going to ask the boys to do it because they'd be like, what? They were not born in the generation of being practical. I mean, if I can't do it, then it's not going to get done. And while he was here, I asked him, I have a waste disposal unit that I really don't like. Last time I used it, it spewed all over the kitchen. So I'm like, and he said, the best thing to do is take it out. I said, great, take it out. That would be awesome. And of course, things never, with plumbing, there's always something that doesn't go right. And the piping they used didn't allow the dishwasher to go back properly. So they had to reconfigure it the next day. They won't be here for a few hours. And she sent an email to me and probably to God. There was all these people CC'd on it. Rather than saying, hey, or messaged me. I mean, that's how I've talked to her before. Did you have a plumber in? I think I've got a leak. Oh no, it was like, an essay about who was responsible, blah, blah, blah. As it turned out, without me going down that, as it turned out, she actually had a rusted waste disposal, and that's why it was leaking. But she was blaming everybody, blaming the plumber, who is the nicest guy. And I knew that he would be upset if he thought that somebody was saying he may have done something. So my email back to her was, why don't you call the plumber? Because I can't call him for you. And he's the association's plumber. So why don't you ask him to come and look? And then we can figure it out. So that literally triggered me when the response was about that I'd made a mistake, which I hadn't. And he said, clearly, I've done nothing wrong, so it's not my responsibility. And as any of you, if you have your own home, plumbers are not cheap, neither are electricians. So anyway, I've sorted all that out. But I thought it's interesting how people sometimes go about things, because I would have said, hey, well, I probably wouldn't have even asked. If I knew that she seems to know everything, and I'm surprised she doesn't know what I eat. She's one of those people that knows everything about everybody. I just think it's interesting that I wouldn't have even contacted her. I just called the plumber and said, I think you were next door yesterday. Did you shake something loose? I mean, I live in a condo. The walls are thin. And they certainly are when you get to plumbing, because there's probably just a partition there. But he didn't do anything wrong. And he's the nicest guy. So that's how we can get triggered without, I wasn't even prepared for it. I was like, sorry. No, I didn't even say sorry. So one of the things I've learned over the years is not to apologize for something that isn't my problem. Because, we want to say, oh, I'm sorry. And those people, that type of person, wants you to be sorry, wants you to grovel, wants you to be like, oh, that's really sad. I'm so sorry. No, I just said, why don't you do, or if that's what you want to do. So, lesson learned. But be careful of triggers, because however well healed we are, they can jump. If any of you have PTSD, that's how I used to describe PTSD. I work in the mental health field. I had a couple of people that worked with me who had their own mental health issues, and sometimes the unit they were working on, the patients triggered them, the way they spoke to them or whatever. And a couple of them, like me, had the fight or flight, so they would run, which you really can't just like go and leave your job. But that's how I would describe it to people. You don't know what is around the corner. And sometimes the whole day you're thinking, what's going to be jumping out? That's how anxiety, PTSD is. I never downplay that. So hopefully those of you that have that, you're working through it. So let's see what the crows have to say, and then I'm going to be quiet, I think. But sometimes I think I'm going to come on and talk about one thing, and then Spirit decides no. So let's see what the crows have to say. I also discovered my office is in a state hospital. I don't work for a state hospital. It's a creepy place. That's all state hospitals are. And there's a lot of open land, and there is hundreds of crows, and a lot of people get freaked out about these crows. And I'm like, don't know, crows are fine. Oh, so observation. So it's getting dark now. So the crow observation. So they like observing us. Communication. And the last one is nighttime. There are crows in the tree. I'll take pictures. So here it is. It's probably 4 o'clock. All right. And I've only been talking for 34 minutes. And in that time, it's got dark. I know we're on the right side of it, but it still is. So the crows are reminding us that not only do we observe them, but they observe us. There's if you haven't seen it, I should post it actually on my Facebook page. There's a very interesting article. There's been a project with crows. What they've been trying to figure out what crows are saying because they talk to each other, and they're saying if we're worried about AI or Big Brother, we should be more worried about crows, because as they were doing this experiment and following them and recording them, they realized that the crows had figured out what the humans were doing, and they went silent. And well, they went silent, but they also changed their frequency. It's all frequency, right? And so they're much more, and they were saying that their brain is like a big computer. It's very small, but it's very smooth, and it holds a lot of information. And they are actually talking to each other. And AI, I think was, if I'm right, was actually interpreting it. And when they figured out what was happening, they figured out the microphones that they were placing around, they changed how they were communicating. So watch out for the crows. It's actually my new boss. I offered to, actually I sent the link about it, and she can't even look at birds, which is sad when people have been traumatized. I guess it's like dogs. If you've been bitten by a dog, you don't always think dogs are quite so nice. So we've got change coming, that we need healing clarity this week. So not to resist the change, the message is to go with the flow. We've got the divine masculine energy, which is reminding us that the new star seeds that are coming in are bringing in this beautiful new frequency of male energy, much softer, and the stargates are opening. Then we've got the star seed cards, which was called, so our gifts are coming online. It was reminding us that empathy, we can get hit hard if we're not careful. We need to watch that. And water your garden, nourish body care, tenderness and rest. So I know some of you have been worried about feeling tired or that you're lazy. One of the things that when I talk to parents, and as parents, when you're dealing with kids that have significant mental health or behavioral health challenges, is it's exhausting. And, the analogy of when you go on an airplane and they talk to you about the oxygen mask coming down, and they say, as an adult, put the mask on first, because you can't help your children, you can't help anybody else if you can't breathe. So that is a huge thing to remember, that you cannot help anybody if you can't breathe. And that I could go into a whole conversation about breathing, but I've noticed that I am taking deeper breaths, especially when I'm doing my grounding in the morning. I'm starting off with deep breaths and feeling that energy going right down out of my feet. And you've heard me talk about how not only grounding is important, but again, if we're not filling our body with the air, which is also nourishment for our body needs, our blood needs oxygenating. And if we're only breathing from here, our whole body isn't getting it. So take notice of that. And then we've got the balance of the divine masculine was the three, I'm losing my word, see, it's the end of the day, the goddess cards. They gave us the messages of you're just getting started, so have patience with yourself and the process. Do not give up. Isis is reminding us about our past. but it's bringing the memories forward for us to heal. And then the importance of opening, important doors are opening for us right now. Walk through them. So if you see an opportunity, don't second guess yourself. That's the worst thing we can do, right? Observation, crows are observing us as we observe them. They can hold on to a lot of information. They're great communicators. And then nighttime. I'm not sure what this is here. Showing crows. There's the city in the background, a full moon and the crows. So that we've got a full moon coming up. So at night they rest. So again, so what I'm being drawn to, they're saying, so for me to talk about how important it is at night to also protect yourself in your sleep state. Since I have been the past few months, made a huge difference to my sleep. It's made a huge difference to my son as well, to do same sort of ritual at night. You can choose your ritual. Ground yourself fully because you want to be anchored in fully before you go to sleep. And asked for guidance. I put myself in a protective bubble. I have this rainbow obsidian around my neck that I wear constantly. I also see, so my black dragon is a rainbow obsidian dragon, and he just showers us with rainbow obsidian, and as it comes over our bubble and over my home, it sets sort of like concrete, and then it reflects out all of, so that we cannot be seen and that we are protected. So whatever speaks to you, you can put yourself in a bright bubble, bright light that will detect it. Then I ask my gatekeepers to protect me during my dream state, because we do go into a different wave, alpha wave, and we often go off, and we have our silver cord that tethers us. I also ask that I make no decisions during my dream state. I accept no gifts, no food, no gifts, no flowers. I accept nothing unless I am awake. And then I put on high vibe music. YouTube has millions of options. Whatever, for me, Tibetan flute music, I actually have been doing, my son has been doing it now for weeks. We've raised the vibration in his bedroom. The number of bad days he's had gets less, and he's less bothered with voices. So if you do nothing else, put on some music, that, because sometimes I put on music that irritates me and it's not going to help me sleep, even if it says it's for sleep. I've been putting on healing music because of my back, and it has made a difference. I'm not saying I wake up pain-free, but it's much less than it has been when I don't put on the healing music. That's 174 hertz. There's a lot of beautiful music around that, and it's very rhythmic, which is what helps you sleep, and it changes our frequency within our body. So I hope that's helped some of you. I know you probably haven't seen much of me today, but I did really want to feature my curtains. So I hope everybody has a good week. Tomorrow is an extra day off for me, so it'll be a shorter week. And I also said the other day, be careful what you wish for. So my work has increased. My work Monday through Friday has increased because I was asking for more work. So I said as well, remember to be specific about what you ask for. If you just put it out there, they just send it to you, right? So hope you have a good week. And if you have questions, feel free to message me on YouTube. You can also send me an email, which is eastcoastdragonlady@gmail.com. My website is www.eastcoastdragonlady.com. And thank you again for subscribing to my channel. I keep forgetting to say that. If this has spoken to you, please share it. And I will be back. If something pops up in the week, I'll be back. But have a good week.